Welcome to Transparent with Tina. I'm Tina Marx, your host, and today I have a very special guest. Actually, all of my guests are very special. This man has a very, very interesting story that he's about to share with us. He is the CEO and founder of Be Something Wonderful, which is consulting, coaching, and also the name of his new book. Please welcome Tom Kearin. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Good. It's great to be here. Very excited. And,
I'm so excited. I'll tell you, you sent me your book and I read it in 24 hours. And you had promised me that it would be a easy, quick, easy to digest read, and you didn't break your promise. I mean, seriously, I couldn't put it down. I think there's so much information in a very small book. It's very concise, and that was my goal when I wrote my book, was I wanted like every sentence to count. I didn't want you have to read two or three paragraphs to come on, get to the point.
Right.
So it was very thought out, and I would recommend to everybody. But before we go into your book, let's go into actually how that even happened. So let's start out from wherever you want to start off. I mean, I know that I read in the book, it's all public knowledge, because in your book, you're one of 7 kids, right?
Right. So Be Something Wonderful was sort of it's who I am. I think it's something that I've been creating since I've been born, right? And of course, all the great ancients talk about that, right? Your development as a spirit. But yes, I'm one of 7 kids. I'm a twin, or was a twin. There's a lot of story behind that. But a lot of people have a dysfunctional story, so I don't really want to go into that too much. But it was 7 kids. My father died when I was 6. My mother brought up the kids
by herself.
Yeah, and of course, with all of the issues, I had brothers. The majority were struggles, right, with drugs, alcohol, and died before they really had a time to turn that around, to connect with who they really are, right? And so it was my mother was an alcoholic. She was alive today. She died a few years ago, and really, she even jokes when I used to get her Mother's Day cards. She goes, it's a Hallmark card, right? She goes, Tom, I really appreciate it. She goes, I know I'm not like that, or I've never been like that. She just wasn't there, right? She was, I think I write about it in my book. The best days were the first thing in the morning. The worst days were
that when
everything after that, right? Because she would sneak her drinks, and and I really, my whole life was to get out of that, to move away from that. And in a way, I ran away from my family when I was in my early 20s. Went to the West Coast, right? I grew up in the Boston area, and it wasn't really the family that I should have been running away from. It should have been me seeking a connection to understand how that choice that I made when I was spirit to come into that family was supposed to happen. That's the growth I was supposed to have. Today I look at them all very differently, right? Back then when I was 20, I go, I'm not like them, I'm different, and so, I'm one of the few that went to college and so forth.
That's interesting that you said that. So do you believe that you choose your parents? Because my mom used to say that too. That we all.
I don't know. Everything I read was that, it's not like we are today in this physical body saying, I'm going to make a conscious choice to be in this family. I think there's definitely a spiritual thing going on there, and that's where my journey brought me, right? The upbringing was, 4 of my, one of my brothers is alive today. That's the oldest brother. He seemed to pull through it, and my sister, out of 7 kids, it's just us 3.
Only 3 left.
Yeah, my twin brother committed suicide a few years ago.
Okay.
My other brothers, Ricky and Danny, died, I think, when they were in their 20s, 23 and then 29. Again, from the same type of thing. It's in my book. I don't want to go into detail, but that's about, all of them were cause of this, of the environment. For whatever reason, we could not, or they could not cope with the physical reality, being out here.
Maybe it's because they didn't have that connection that you and I know is to be the forefront of our lives, right? I mean, if you're not connected to your spirit, you're not connected to the universe, okay? You're feeling disconnected, you feel alone, you feel afraid, all those lower vibrational feelings, doubt, anxiety, worry, which everybody seems to think that is like normal. And I thought for the longest time until I became in alignment, I thought, well, everybody feels that way. And just because everybody feels that way doesn't mean that that's normal. Because you talk about it in your book, I talk about it in my book, that normal is when you're a child when you come into this world. You're untouched. You come directly from source, God, universe, universal energy, whatever that is, right? That's what the normal should feel like. But
normal is love. Normal is that deep love. I'm not talking really romantic love. Normal is joy and love. We didn't know. No one told me, right? I thought normal was, my mother used to say, they're crucifying me, and just every day was miserable. And that's not life.
No.
That's not about, so that my whole life, and so the way I coped with it is I studied a lot. I was driven to kind of get out of that, but not in a very healthy, functional way, right? I was quick-tempered still, easily irritated, but sort of moved up into business, continued banging it out, right? Everything was about, like in the 1980s, and I think I talk about this, I was a CPA in KPMG Pete Mark. It was back when it was just Pete Mark. And, you spent 3 years slaving away, and everything was about banging it out, doing. Nothing's about connection. Imagine if I went to a managing partner in 1987 and said, I really want to get in touch with my spirit. They would you would not be, right? These guys were drinking whiskey at lunch and smoking cigarettes. It was a different time. And I thought, well, this is what you got to do. I thought I was always reaching for something on the outside of me. Either it was a mentor, someone I respected in business, and none of them were, I would say, necessarily great examples, right? I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. And really, it wasn't until, so I kind of continued to bang it out. I kept running, right? I moved to South America, worked down there for a while.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, I went to Cusco. I used to travel, a good friend of mine, his name's Xavier, he lives in Belgium. He used to live in the US, and we'd travel once a year to a place in another part of the world. He goes, hey, let's do Machu Picchu. I said, okay. So we go to Cusco, and I really loved it. I said, hey, I think I'm going to stay here. This is who I was. I was at Impulsive. That was my way of coping with whatever I thought I had to cope with, right? Mm-hmm. And you and I know there's nothing to cope with. There's no other shoe to drop. There's none of that. But right. I still thought that way. So I stayed down there, and I met an American business guy, and he had a little English institute with about less than 100 English clients. And I sort of stayed with him and worked with him. And through, about 10 years, built it up with him to 4 countries and a big international, work study, travel abroad institute. It was family owned by him and his wife, but they sort of brought me in as a partner. I was working with the founder. I was managing the institutes, and I was based mostly in Peru because I was a resident there. Then one late night, Peru kind of gets rainy and cold. I say, this was in 2017. I just sort of hit my limit because it was, as much as I loved it, it was always banging it out. We got to work harder. We've got to, and there was a lot of negativity in the company. And, I think, and a lot of companies there are. And I just thought there's got to be a better way. And there's got to be more for me. I just didn't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And this is how Be Something Wonderful. I started scribbling my initials, and I put my initials in a circle.
Yeah.
And this is how it all happens, right? And then I started with Tom Kearin, and then I go, I really want to be something more, do something, be something. And this is how I sort of came about it.
Right, so you didn't realize it, but you were developing your logo right there.
It was it. And I go, this is what I want to do. I want to be something wonderful. I want to be something more. I want to get connected. And this is how it all started. And it quickly evolved from there, because that was in January of 2016. By August of 2017, I was back in the States. I landed in San Diego. So
I think in the book you said that, like, shortly after you realized that was something that you needed to do, you got an extra push and you got into a big argument with your partner.
I did, and
and the only reason I bring that up is that even though you were kind of looking in that direction or feel like you want to, and
that's what pushed it.
I think that's happened to everybody. It's like we want this, but we're a little afraid of it. And then, the universe was giving you this extra push by getting you in a fight. And most of the time, if we don't realize that's what's happening, it's happening towards our benefit. It's like, well, what's happening? Everything's falling apart, but it's actually falling together. It's the
exactly.
I know you're a little afraid to do this. I'm going to make it a little easier for you.
Yeah, the universe definitely did. And, we create all that. So I created that. Any negativity in my life, we're all creators. And I didn't get it that I created my whole life. I've always wanted to blame it on other people, even my ex-business partner.
Yeah.
We're good guy. And there was a lot of similarities in sort of how we acted, but that wasn't me deep down. And I wanted to touch on that. I want to get back to that kid, that kid that was connected to something much more powerful, that knew that there's something more.
Yeah.
That sensitive.
That curiosity, that love for life, that just, joy to be alive. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, because I always.
Let me just say something, whether you believe it or not, everybody is trying to get back there. Whether they realize it consciously or not, any kind of discord, unhappiness, depression, and like I said, sadness, anxiety, unless it's something isolated, that's your calling to get back into alignment and into this place that is our real natural state.
That's why we're here, right? God became us so we could become him. So he split into all these human forms, like all of this, right? He created all of this, and we have God within us. And so our whole purpose is to get back to that divinity.
Yes.
And that's why we're here. If you don't do it in this lifetime, you'll get another chance.
You and I are in such a line. When I was reading your book, I was like, oh my God. I mean, we're in complete agreement with our thoughts and exactly how that works. And, it's very timely with what's going on right now with,
wow.
Isn't it?
Wow.
I was thinking about that.
Isn't it? Haven't you been thinking about that? Thinking, wow,
if we realize that we are really all connected, as you go into your book so well, talking about quantum physics and the atom and energy and how we cannot, it's impossible for us to be not connected. Okay. And this is all happening because we have lost our sight that we are really all connected.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it really is. And it's the collective consciousness.
Yes.
Demanding that, pushing us to this, to understand that we're all connected.
Yes.
Right? No, we all think we're, and individually we can make a difference just by teaching by example. Teaching that,
exactly.
It's not, everybody's out there trying to do things, the physicality where we think we can change things by forcing people, by arguing with people, by fighting. That doesn't, you and I know, that's not how it works. You do it by getting connected, aligned.
In fact, the resistance actually just prolongs the situation. Once you surrender to the situation, it opens up, the opportunity opens up, the lesson opens up, the way opens up.
Yeah.
It's in our resistance of what is that stunts us. I just had this conversation with a client this morning. I said, we start thinking about what if, and I said, it's a shame that we're always thinking what if in a negative way. What if I don't get the job? What if I can't pay my rent? What if in negative? I told her, I said, you know what, next time you do that, think of what if in the positive? What if I do get the job? What if I do get the promotion? What if I can't? You know, it just completely elevates your energy, which we're going to talk about in a minute too, because you focus a lot of that on your book too, which I think really that is the magic key. And I think that's the magic in keeping you in alignment, right?
Yes.
Is understanding your emotions, being aware of how you're feeling, because your feelings are direct indicators of where you are in your frequency. As you quote it, Esther Hicks in your book, and she has that emotional scale of 22 different frequencies.
Definitely Esther Hicks. I quote. There's so many good teachers out there, and there's teachers that back in the 50s and 60s, like Neville Goddard was amazing, right? When he's talking about imagination as Christ and as that, like we're creators. And I think if you wanted to simplify it, and she does that a lot. She's very clever at that, or Abraham's very clever at that, getting the message out. You can talk about the scale and get kind of lost in that, or you can say, do you feel good or do you feel bad? There's really two emotions in the end, right? And
fear and faith, good and bad. Yep.
There it is. And I love that thing about what if, because we do create, and if we knew the power, most people just walk around creating unintentionally, unconsciously, right? Walking around unconsciously, but we do have that God particle, that God ability, right? I mean, Jesus said, even though Jesus was more like I would say more of a spiritual energy, but you can do what I can do and more, so, it's not like I'm going to go out and walk on the Pacific Ocean, but if you were connected enough, if you truly believed you could. That was the whole message.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the expression that really resonated with me is God dwells in us as us.
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
I love
so
that.
Everybody has the same opportunities to access that energy that did create us. So let's talk more about that, because people are going, well, I've tried to create my life, and I've, been wishing and hoping on this forever, and I pray, and none of it's coming true. And that's exactly what happened when the movie The Secret came out. I don't know if you remember that, but
yeah, they just, it was so general. The idea was there, right? They talked about
the idea was there
on the energy, and I know Abraham Hicks tries to get you there, but here's the thing about law of attraction and all of that stuff. You've got to, the reason none of that stuff works is it's not getting at the root, right? It's like when you make a New Year's resolution, why do they always fail? Because you're just at the branches, right? The branches kind of die. We got to get at the root of it. You've got to believe, you've got to imagine and then believe.
That's why people thought it didn't work, because it's ask, believe, receive. Well, it's easy to ask. It's easy to say, hey, bring it to me.
Right.
But if you don't have the belief behind it,
and everyone starts to go, well, where's my stuff? Or where's my better life? That Esther Hicks says that. Well, that's why.
Well, and not only that, Tom, the universe
asking. You can't.
And the universe responds to specifics. You can't say a better life. Universe is going to go, what is that? Because a better life to you might mean something different than it does to me.
Yes.
So you need to be very specific in what you're asking for. Not just, I want more money. How much more money do you want? When would you like it by? And then there's the action behind it too, because it's not just ask, believe, receive. You can't just sit in bed, eat popcorn and expect it to show up. There is the action behind it, right?
Inspired. There will be, I think Neville Goddard talks about this. I like the way he talks about it, because he goes, you've got to imagine it from the end. You can't think of it. You got to think from the end. So you got to think
as if it already happened.
Because we're not praying correctly, right? When you pray and beg, the universe and God does not respond to that. You will only get more of what you don't want, right? Because when you pray, you've got to pray in a grateful mode that it's already on its way. It's there, and thanking for it, and thinking from the end as like you are already in it. Like you have the money. It's already there. You've asked. You've got to believe that. If you can't believe that God inside,
if you can't believe you can have it, then
you'll never, nothing will
forget it, and get to a place where you do believe you can have it.
Yeah.
And another thing that we both agree upon, I believe it was in your book, but what I completely agree upon, I think a lot of people, they'll keep praying every day for the same thing. What that's saying is you don't trust the universe to bring this to you.
Yeah, you're saying you don't have it.
You bring it, set it out to the universe, and then you wait patiently for it to come back to you, assuming, like you said, it's already been done. Correct?
Yeah, everything. I don't touch on this as much in the book, but it's sort of but everything is already out there. Everything, right? I think you probably. It was probably from one of the books I read, I forget, but the past, present, and future, all of that already exists, right? In time and space, it's just really space. It's us, we're sort of moving through the universe. And so our future's up ahead, our past is up behind us. It's all here happening now.
Right.
And so as soon as we question it, as soon as that doubt sets in, that's what kills the creative seed.
Right, exactly.
To your point.
So let me ask you, when you get doubtful, or when you used to get doubtful, because what do you do now? When you get doubtful, how do you switch on, how do you get back into alignment?
Yeah, well, we all go through doubt, right? But as soon as that thought comes in mind, I remind myself that it's already done. It's done. I've created it. It's out there, and I just got to allow it and let it in.
Right.
And as soon as I do that, I sort of calm down, because you can get doubtful, right? We're in the whole idea in this physicality is to be able to experience this stuff and then evolve and level up, like you have, and right. And it's not like a done deal, right? One and done. You've got to every day. You've got to align.
You've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, Tom, that I really didn't practice it consistently until this last year. It was like, kind of like being in a relationship. You got one toe in, and when it's good, it's good. And when you start acting up, well, I'm kind of in, it's the same way. You're either all in or you're not. And if you're not all in, that's what you're going to get back. And, when things are going well, it's great to have that faith. But when things seemingly don't go your way, and when I say seemingly, because it always ends up working for your highest good, it just doesn't appear so at the time. That's when the faith comes in. That's where you have to be resilient. That's where you have to catch yourself and say, it is already done, even though and that's where the not being attached to the outcome comes in too, right? Because we can get attached to how that should look, of what we're asking for. And you know what? It could be coming to us in a completely different way than what we expected, but the universe is always conspiring to bring us something even better than what we imagined.
Yeah, as soon as you get into the how, you start tripping yourself up, because the universe has ways we don't understand. God has ways we don't understand. Faith is the key, right? Faith is the evidence, right? It's the evidence of things not seen yet. So if you think of that, faith is your evidence.
Yeah.
So that's all the evidence you need. And that sometimes pulls me down from a doubt mode as well. I go, well, wait a minute. I've already got the evidence. It's the faith that it's already done. And just because you can't feel it and touch it and see it.
And that's why I think people have such a problem with it, because we've been told to rely on our five senses.
Yeah.
Just our physicality and our five senses, and anything else than that, that's not realistic.
No, and that's all an illusion anyway, right? We're constantly creating and recreating everything around us.
Right.
Even though, because we're in the physicality and we're in this time element, we don't see it. right? And so, when we make our transition, when each person makes it, then you're creating instantly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's going to be great. But why not do it here? All of the ancient teachers, all of the prophets, they all said the same thing.
They all did. I mean, whether it's Einstein or, because people think, it's New Age, it's all, that's the beauty of your book, is that people that are naysayers or they're non-believers, or they think this is a religious platform, it's all backed by science. And one thing I want to go to, because I read in your book, and I felt this way for the longest time, you said the reason that brought you to this point where you had to walk away from, an excellent career. I mean, you went on to get your master's, right? Or your MBA?
Yeah, an MBA. I was a CPA.
You had all the credentials behind you, and that's what's astounding. You walked away from all that, all that education to follow something that was just burning inside of you. And up until that point, you had said in the book, I felt this void. No matter how much you achieved, how many letters, how much education, how much money you were making. And that's what I really want the viewers to understand, because I think everybody has this illusion that when I get to this level, that'll make me happy. Or if I just get married, that'll make me happy. If I just get this house. And you know what? The void will get there. It'll just remain, and it'll get bigger, and you'll get more frustrated because you're like, that's not it. The only way is in.
Yes. The only way out is in.
The only way out is in. The only way to achieve anything on the external is starting inward. And you know what? I say this over and over again. I said, everything we were taught is almost backwards.
Yes.
Everything was go out there and get it. It's all physically out there.
Go and get it. Work harder. We create it in our imagination, in our minds, in our divinity inside before it ever comes on the outside. We only think we're creating it by doing, because that's how we've been taught, like you said. Bang it out, study harder, and all of it is a big ruse. I don't know, do you remember the guy the guys who used to do the movie reviews, 2 Thumbs Up? Siskel and Ebert. One of them had throat cancer and passed away. I think it was Ebert. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I read something where maybe around 2014, whenever he passed away, right before his pass, his wife said he was saying to his wife, honey, it's all a big ruse. I can see it all. He had the broader perspective. And it's all a big ruse, all of it. And so the idea is to get that try to get as much, really, you're not going to have that perspective until you, as Abraham Hicks says, into your croak, right? But we can get connected and get glimpses of it, and then incorporate that into this physical perspective, right?
Exactly. So, you have one of two choices. You can either let your circumstances rule you, right? Or you can take control of your own life. The only way to take control of your own life is your thoughts. You can't control what thoughts come into your head, but you can control what thoughts stay in your head.
Exactly. Otherwise, you're just going to be bouncing around and reacting to everything.
Right.
And I was bouncing around, right? I still bounce around a little bit every now and then, and I catch myself, right? There's got to be a point where you got to say, you create it all. You're the creator. God made us in His image.
Good or bad. Good or bad. You created it.
Right. And now, I do like that thing about Abraham Hicks when she goes, I created that. And then, oh no, I created that.
Yeah, I created that too. Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a saying, if you want to know what somebody thinks about their thinks about themselves, look at their life. Isn't that true? Right? I mean, your thoughts are what your life looks like.
And who you have around you, you attract all that. And I just think, for those doubters out there, I know we all have it in it. Say, hey, the law of attraction doesn't work for me. My thing would be, don't try to do. Everybody's going to come out and say you should do this, that, and the other thing, right? They all have these methods, and I think Abraham Hicks has some methods, right? A bunch of techniques, a bunch of ways to do it. it's personal to you. So don't think that because a certain technique is not working for you, that that's the right way. It's inside you. You're going to find that. And I think if you just connect with love, then the doors will open. You'll find it. And just try soften up a little bit. Don't take yourself so seriously, and connect with love. Because when you connect with love, you can't go wrong. I was on a show yesterday talking to these guys. They do a one-day forecast broadcast on Facebook, and I said, when you do it out of love, you can't get it wrong. You know, and well, you can. You're going to create something. If you do everything with compassion and love, you're not going to miscreate. It's going to come out.
You know, and as you said earlier about beating yourself up, and you know, when you're coming out of love, you're not going to beat yourself up, and nothing ever good comes out of beating yourself up. And it's all about progress, not perfection. You know, I had an experience the other day that, you know, anybody that watches my show knows I'm a really feisty person by nature. And I had this situation come up that I went from 0 to 60 like that. All right. And the old me, even let's say 2 months ago or a month ago, would have come around, but it might have taken me a half a day. But now it took me probably 45 minutes. You know, would I like to have never have even gone to that space? Of course. But you know what? I've got to pat myself on the back and go, I'm getting there. The fact is, when you come in, and because I now realize when I get in that space of anger or despair or any of those kind of emotions, I ask myself the question, especially if I'm in a situation where I'm angry, what would love do?
Yeah, I like that. You know, Marianne Williamson talks about that a lot too. I love that.
Exactly.
I love that question, Tina. That's a great question to ask yourself. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah.
Because most of the time it's just triggers of childhood, triggers of all this stuff that happened to us, all this, you know, all these, and you know what, when we're triggered like that, when we go from, you know, right into anger. I mean, I was just explaining this to my son the other day. I said, you know, when you go right into anger, you skipped right over. It's probably so painful. You can't deal with the pain. So you go to anger, which is the second emotion, you know, so you've got to realize that it's a trigger and it's okay. And then the more you address it, the more any kind of trigger just shows you what needs to be healed. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. Sure. Sure. Anytime that happens, right? Anytime you feel something other than joy and love, mm-hmm. there's something that needs to be healed. I love that you said that. That's a perfect way of looking at that, because
and keeping your barometer and going, am I in alignment or not? If I'm not feeling this way, then maybe I need to look. And don't beat yourself up for it. You're still, remember, they all talk about it. They talk about the I amness, the divinity. Whenever you beat yourself up for miscreating, you're beating on God. You know, God creates all of it. Mm-hmm. And everyone goes, oh, how could God create that? Because it's free will, and we create out of our emotions and our feelings. And so, but I'm here to tell you, the divinity, the absolute energy we come from is that pure positive love energy. Right? Absolutely.
Everything else is us.
Right.
It's us in this physical format, in this physicality, creating stuff that's not real. Because none of that's real, right? Anger's not real. And they're going, well, it feels pretty real to me, but it's not. The real reality is love and joy. What you felt when you were a kid, right? When you didn't know it. When you didn't know, you know.
When you didn't know that you needed to be another way. Because really, the way you came in this world is perfect, whole, and complete. And you talk about that in your book, too. And then all of a sudden we feel like, oh, we're not. And we have to be something other to be worthy, when we're worthy just because we came into this world.
And this is it. It's all about competition. It's all about, you know, and it's all about trying to get validation from others on our worthiness, when really the only validation we need is that divinity within, that higher, broader, wiser you loves you.
I love that. Because, you know what, that would be another barometer. If somebody's like checking in with themselves going, well, am I getting closer to being in alignment? That would be another thing, because that is so true. The more in alignment you can become with yourself, the universe, and the more that you believe in yourself, the less you need validation.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
The more you doubt yourself, the more validation you need.
I gotta say, and people talk about, oh, well, that's a very powerful person. They have billions of dollars. That's not real. They are, every day their body is getting older. They're going to die. They're going to leave that physical body. And that power that they thought they had was nothing. The real power is your divinity. That's power. Exactly. Imagine that. We're creators. We can create anything we want. That's where your power is. Right. It's not that you're a president or a congressman or a senator. That's not real power.
Right.
That's created on earth to make us feel that. But they are. I stopped looking outside at other. There's no one that's going to tell you. There's no one that's going to help you except that divinity. And so you have 9. No, it's 10 actual. Like I have 9 principles in my book. You have 10 in your book, and you give, each one is a principle, and you give exercises of how to access and stay in that, basically overall the divinity and reconnecting back to yourself. The Dear to Be a code. And that's interesting, because each letter stands for a code, right? And the idea of that, and I've had a lot of people when they read the reviews on, they go, it's very simple, but there's a lot of wisdom and simplicity. Mm-hmm. What I was trying to get at is that it's not supposed to be complicated. I'm not going to give you difficult processes and tell you what to do. You've got to, here's the principle. Now, be still. And what does it mean to you? Because if you, am I supposed to feel this? You're not supposed to feel anything. That you're supposed to feel what you feel. And then, once you find that and you make that first connection for yourself, you start coming into your own power. Mm-hmm. You stop looking around for others. I love reading. Ever since I was even in my teens, I loved reading self-help books, but I would read them all. But I was wondering why I wasn't getting it. I read them all. I loved them, and now I finally get it. Mm-hmm. That's why they call it self-help, because it's you, but not the self, not that physical you, not that you that goes from 0 to 60. It's that greater, broader, more loving you, that higher perspective, that spiritual you, that God connection.
Yes.
And isn't it wonderful to know that we have that, and that no matter what happens, we're eternal. So, I think I said yesterday on a show that it's not until they were talking about all the ruckus going on in the world, right? And I didn't want to focus too much on the negativity there, but my point to them was, it's only when you feel absolutely vulnerable do you start to feel your own invulnerability. Mm-hmm. When you're absolutely exposed and you go, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, you're stepping out of your ego. Yeah,
I'm still here, and then you start going, wow, I am invulnerable. I am invincible.
Right.
And you're not invincible. In the physical bodies, guys, we're all. There's only so much you can do. And that's the idea of be something wonderful. Right?
Exactly. It's more about being than doing.
Right. Reaching for that higher concept of yourself, that higher ideal, always, right? And that's what Be Something Wonderful is all about, right? There's even one of my logos has a cocoon turning into a butterfly. It's that type of thing we're constantly leveling up and transforming ourselves to be that higher concept.
Yes.
And you don't level out.
There's no ceiling. It's just
we're eternal.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think there's just when I talk a little bit about always waiting for the other shoe to drop, people use that expression. I think I said on one of my postings one day on my Facebook, there's no other shoe. It's just more joy, more joy, more joy.
You said that, and I totally resonate. You said that in your book too. And there was this situation that just happened to me yesterday that it's almost like too good to be true. Yeah. And I said, I don't want to celebrate yet. I don't want to pinch myself yet because you never. And then I stopped myself. I said,
because
it's happened. It's true. the seemingly impossible became possible because anything is possible. I put it out there.
Love it.
You know, it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take, but my intent, my desires have finally come to fruition.
I love that. I love that you caught yourself and said, wait a minute, I'm not going to start.
Only think about what you want to bring in. I'm going to wait for the other show to talk. No, I'm not taking the chance. Let's leave it the way it is. It's here. It's here.
Yeah. I think Esther Hicks says, it's just as easy to create a button as a castle. That's her point, is creation's creation.
Yeah.
So it's only our thoughts like, oh man, that's big or that's hard. No, it's all the same. And so if you're going to create anyway, why not create joy? Why not create love?
Exactly. So the first step is being aware of what you're thinking and what's coming out of your mouth. And, don't think about or say anything that you don't want to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's really a beautiful thing. And to know too that there's no limits to how far you can rise with that divinity, and you never get it done. I think Esther Hicks says that a lot, and I do like that because it's very true, right? I mean, there's always more you can do, right? And if you want to manifest stuff and money, that's okay too. Money's good. It's just a form of energy. So there's nothing bad about that. I mean, we're all brought up, I think we were brought up poor, and my mother used to say, money doesn't grow on trees. Everything was negative around it. So you create this block, you create this whole limiting belief around money, around fame, around whatever it is.
Let somebody else's thoughts become your reality, As an adult, start thinking about what you want, not what you were taught.
There it is.
So anyways, we can find your book on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's called Be Something Wonderful. Suddenly you want to be more. But if you just Be Something Wonderful, you Google that, I'll come up. Tom Kearin, Be Something Wonderful. It's on Google. It's on Apple Books. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's everywhere. But, Amazon's the easiest to get it. You can get a Kindle ebook, or you can actually get a paperback. They're both available now.
And what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is you can contact me at besomethingwonderful.com. All of my social media is I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Google. I'm everywhere. Very easy. Even if you just Google my name, Tom Kearin. I think I was testing it the other day, and I came up, Tom Kearin, author, and then below me was the Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, and Tom Brady. I go, hey, there we go, good company. So, get a hold of me, even if you want to write me an email. That's info@besomethingwonderful.com. You can say hello. Okay. And always happy to interact on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. I'm pretty available, and I'm always happy to talk about love and the message.
Awesome. Well, such a pleasure having you on, and your message is my message. We just got to get this out to everybody who will listen, who be of service to anybody, right?
Yeah, I love it, Tina. Thanks so much. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You're welcome, and I'm sure I'll probably have you on again.
Thanks so much. Okay, take care.
All right, and for those of you who have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. It's Tina Marx TV, and my website, transparentwithtina.com. I'd love to hear from you, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, go ahead and email me at tinamarxtv@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.